Today, friends, the journey continues. We continue our trek to discover economical products that can bring the necessary quality but joyous painting all at the same time. Hey there, hey friends, Ken here, your thrifty apprentice. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to another unboxing video. Friends, as most of you may already know, I have been searching for a while now to find some good quality products that are budget friendly and will not break the bank or the pocket. And we're going to be looking at another one. This one is a Nicpro 50 color paint set. So let's head over to the table and take a look. Nicpro watercolor paint set, or maybe it's Nicpro watercolor paint set. Either way, it's 50 colors, artist choice, non-toxic and safe, professional quality. Flipping it over on the back, it says, for the beginner, using primary colors is key. Refer to the color techniques for blending creation. Cool and warm colors are useful for creating masterpieces. There's a color swatching that's digitally printed here with the color names underneath, although that's rather small. And instructions, Nicpro 50 colors of watercolor paint set has great color selection, high quality pigments or high pigment quality, brilliant colors, great transparency, easily mixing with water, and produce long-lasting colors with good light fastness. Child use with adult supervision, dry quickly and are reusable once dry. These paints can be diluted with water to cover large surface areas. Please store the paints in a cool and dry environment without direct sunlight. Artist set includes 50 vibrant watercolor paint colors, 42 are classic, 4 are metallic, 4 are fluorescent. There's a water brush, a 8-piece high quality synthetic squirrel brush set, 25 sheets of 140-pound watercolor paper, a pencil, an eraser or sharpener, a plastic palette, 2 sponges, and a carrying bag. There is contact information via a website or their email, and it does conform to the ASTM as well as the EN41 regulations, and the product is made in China. So let's break into it and see what's in it. And here are our contents. We have watercolor paper. There is a swatching card that has all of the color names. And this seems to be a watercolor paper or textured, yes, some type of watercolor paper, which is cool. There are 8 brushes, which are outside the original piece of plastic that they came in, because I did previously try to shoot this video, friends. So we will be definitely giving those a try. We have the sponge, our carrying bag, which contains our watercolors. So there is information here on watercolor painting instruction, using tips, information about the brushes, their sizes, the shapes and the use of those shapes, how you can add texture to your paintings, brush cleaning techniques, watercolor techniques, and the suggestion to use Google to look them up and research them, and other things that you may want to consider adding to your watercolor stash in order to paint with. So this is definitely geared towards beginners. Now here we have a pretty tealish sort of palette, metal latch. We've seen these. This is sort of reminiscent of a lot of the budget grade sets that are currently listed on the front pages of Amazon when you research watercolor. So I do like the kind of gold embossed raised design on it. There is a swatching on the back along with the color names, and I'm going to assume this is the way that they are in the palette because it's listed in the same order on a swatch sheet. So there we have that. Let's take a look on the inside. Molded trays. Here we have a removable mixing tray. Okay. And we reveal our watercolors here. That top molded tray has a sharpener, eraser, another sponge, a pencil, an additional flat brush. That's white nylon. I mean, standard issue, generic run-of-the-mill brush, as well as a sort of generic run-of-the-mill water brush as well. Sort of has a yellow head, which I'm used to seeing them white. So maybe there's sizing in it that I need to wash out. We'll see. So at this point, I guess what we need to do is crack open the paper, and we're going to swatch on the watercolor paper as well as fill out the swatching sheet. So let's get to it, my friends. Okay, friends, don't freak out. This is going to be the only part of this video that is time-lapsed. I did want to kind of go ahead and get through with the swatching section so that I could kind of move on to doing more of a real-time walkthrough on the demo for you guys, something I don't normally do. So you will notice that I'm actually swatching the paints out backwards. This is because the molded tray is actually turned opposite of the way they're actually listed on the swatch sheet in the back of the palette. And that's something that I'm going to correct later on before we get to the demo section. Just kind of pop it out and flip it around so that the color arrangement in the molded tray will actually match the way they are laid out on the swatch sheet. Now, I had initially said when I opened this package that I thought the swatch sheet was cotton paper. And I still stick, well, I'm sorry, not cotton paper, but watercolor paper, excuse me. And I do still stick by that. However, I do not believe that the paper that is included in the paper pad is the same paper that's the swatch sheet. I believe they're two different papers. That swatch sheet gave me a lot more buckling. But you will notice that I was swatching each of the colors out in sort of a really kind of heavy water wash on that swatch sheet just because I wanted to see what would happen if there would be any like grittiness or granular debris, because I don't expect these to granulate at all. So any like grittiness inside the paint would be the indication of quite a few fillers. Now, the package did initially say that these were like high pigments and super bright and really light fast, which is something that I'm definitely taking with a grain of salt considering the fact that they didn't present any of that information. But for what it's worth, the paints actually swatched out really bright, really vibrant. I did kind of swatch them in more of a mass tone, so there was not a huge shift from the wet to the dry phase. And I will say, though, that they were rather opaque. There's not a lot of transparent paints in here. I did notice that the, excuse me, color range was pretty vast. I didn't notice a lot of samey colors, although there are some that are close to each other, not quite the same. But I'm going to pull back on talking too much about it because I am saving these paints to go along with 3 other sets that will be included in a 4-brand massive review video that I plan on dropping somewhere around the end of September because I want to get it done before we have to move into Inktober, which starts August. I have already posted that prompt list in the community section of the channel in case you're interested in going ahead and getting started on that. And I'm going to finish up this swatching and meet you guys on the other side for the actual demo. So friends, now that we've gotten through the swatch, and I have to admit that the paints are pretty much what I expected them to be coming out of the box. And there's no poo-poo on the paints at all. I did go ahead and take a time to just kind of glance at what the opacity of each of the paints were before I decided that I would go ahead and do a preliminary demo. I'm starting on some Christmas things, and this was a branch of berries. Maybe it'll end up being a Christmas card later on down the line. Who knows? But since I've painted, excuse me, so many planny things with you guys lately, I kind of wanted to take it in a different direction. I'm still going to paint what could possibly be a Christmas card front. and we are going to be tackling in this real time. Yes, I'm going to keep it real time demo, friends. This set of jingle bells. So real easy to sketch out if you decide you want to follow along. It's seriously 3 circles with a couple of tubes and a ribbon on it. Really, I went on and sketched it out on scratch paper ahead of time and transferred it in. I don't have that paper sitting here with me. I'm sorry about that. Um, Actually, I do. I'll show it to you guys. So here is the little trace board I used to sketch it out and transfer it into the watercolor book so I wouldn't have any erasing lines in there, my friend. So we are going to go ahead and get started on crack-a-lacking at this. I hope you guys like the new setup, the new things that we're going to have going on. Do jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think, as I switch down to the painting tape. So I'm going to keep it kind of up close and personal. We are going to go ahead and just get some base color in. Now, I would suggest, which I did not do, so I'm going to go ahead and do now. To spray your paints. When you have a economical palette of the sort, definitely go ahead and spray them to get them activated and sort of juicy. Help out your painting process. Speaking of sort of juicy, I might splatter some things in that background later on. I'm using a number 12 round here, and I'm going to grab what is supposed to be brilliant green, and I'm just going to mix it right in the area where the greens were. And gonna go in here and just paint this leafy area. Now I noticed from the swatching that the paper is okay. It's nothing to write home about. It feels like the same paper that's in the Viva set, starter set. It feels like the same paper that is in, what was that? That other, the Emoke. You friends, if you guys remember, I think we used that a couple of videos back for the introduction of the cheap art challenge. So the paper seems to be along the same level. This is just um, more so on the white end, where those papers seem to have almost a eggshelly color to them. So I am just painting out my first layer. This is going to be the lightest layer, and of course we're going to paint from light to dark. And typically I like to kind of charge in with my darks to begin, but in this situation we're going to actually follow some rules, believe it or not, and we will be painting light to dark here. And I just want to get a base coat on everything. And I'm keeping it light and watery, so it's going to shift heavily once it dries. For the jingle bells themselves, I'm going to be using, I think this color is Crimson. I've been using it. I used it quite a bit in the first painting with those berries. Very pretty color, actually. Now, there's no doubt that they are economical paints, and I did not pre-wet. I'm going to keep the color mass and just paint in the entire bell here. And you don't have to use as big of a brush as I'm using. I'm using a number 12. You can use anything. I wouldn't use anything smaller than a 6 just for the purpose of covering surface area, but you can honestly use whichever one you want. You can even use a flat if you wanted to. There's no rule against what brush you have to use. I just find rounds or daggers to be easier brushes to use. Now, I will say, before I get to the review of this set, that the brushes are okay, considering. Actually, the brushes are probably the best thing in the set. They're decent. They're not, you know, designer brushes or professional brushes, but considering, they're pretty okay. So I'm just getting all of this based in. And I am getting it rich in color, as I said before. I'm going to try not to do too many layers with this paint. So I'm going to try to get as much done in one wash as possible. And this is just a little tip you may want to throw into your repertoire, as they say, for your more budget grade paints. Try to get as much done in the first layer, just in case there's any tendency at all for a chalk to build. I feel like it'll just help that out. Okay, so I know that that's still wet, so I want to paint. I'm going to switch over. I'm switching over to an Artegra brush. This is a number 3 round. I want to go in here and get this rope started. And I'm just going to use the brown here, which is more like maybe a burnt sienna. And I'm mixing it into this area over here where I have this little purple and bluette, which is fine with me if it adds a little desaturation to it. Now I'm going to carefully try to paint in this rope. Just to get the first layer on. And I'm going to be careful and try not to hit my jingle bells. Jingle bells. I'm going to call them jingle bells every time I say it, huh? If you get a little bleeding, that's okay. Not the end of the world. But you try to leave a little sliver so your colors don't bleed into each other. Well, not unless that's what you want. Alright. And again, I'm just base layering everything. You can take that rope. Should take that rope up to the top of the page like that. Alright. I need to give that time to dry and then we can move on, friends. Okay, friends, I think that the ribbon is dry enough for me to go ahead and continue. So I am going to be zooming out here so we can see the table better. And I'm going to turn my work towards me so that it's easier. I always suggest that. And I'm going to grab a synthetic. I want a golden tack line. Let's see here. I'm trying to find one that... There's a Princeton brush I have here I want to use. Let's try this one. This is a Princeton number 1 round, and I'm going to grab that same brilliant green I was working with. And we are going to just start to carve out our ribbon here. And you want to have your paint in a sort of skim milky consistency because you want to pull and that brush isn't coming to the point that I want it to. Ironically enough, I want something a little bit more pointy. I'm going to go to this number 2 round. This is one of Christy Rice's paint crush brushes. Let's give this one a try. And of course that is working out for me pretty well. And we can shore up any of our lines with this. It's been a minute since I painted a ribbon. So I am trying to feel my way through this. Doing a little dry brushing. Want to try to give it a sort of fabric texture. And I will be darkening it up a little bit, so we're not going to do too much worrying about anything. We're just going to add in the areas where we will have our midtones, and then we'll go back and add in our darks as well. And I'm just pulling linear strokes from the corners of everything. And again, I'm keeping my paint not watery, but more of a milky consistency. Excuse me. And I feel like it's pretty successful. Now, guys, if I get quiet, just forgive me. I have to get used to our new setup and the way I'm recording. The fact that I'm going to try to do more real-time videos. And I'm also trying to be mindful of the time. So we are just adding in the secondary tone. So basically this is mass tone of the color I added watered down, although you wouldn't really know it. It does seem to have a lot more yellow in it in mass tone. Somehow, I'm not quite sure how that's possible, but it does. And I'm just making lines, and it's adding texture into the ribbon. As the paint runs out, it dry brushes across the tooth of the paper and adds texture to it. And it's really sort of like a balancing act. You have to just kind of go until you feel like it's enough to your eye. And just a little back there, I'm going to be separating that off in just a while. We'll get some division in it. I'm The paints can definitely be painted with. I think this is a great application for them. Using them to do like card making, crafting projects of the sort. I think that absolutely wonderful. Okay. And I can go ahead and add some definition to the branch. I'm going to actually mix some of that original brown, which is like a burnt sienna, with the one next to it, which is, it says it's yellow gray. And the one on the opposite side is deep brown, which is more like burnt sienna. So I'm going to use more of that one than anything. Just kind of mix those up there and come in here and start giving some definition to my rope, which is going to sort of be handled almost the same way. I'm just sort of tracing it almost here. I'm going to add some shadows into that area where we would have foes as we go. And then I'm going to start making some linear marks on my knot. Not being too distinct here. Trust me, we're going to be bringing it out more. But I do want to get it darker in the areas where it would meet something else. And you may not paint yours the way I paint mine either. But I just wanted to give you guys something that could possibly be fun and creative to do. And it'll help you get some Christmas cards out the way if you're one of those people who engage in making and giving Christmas cards, or maybe this will be the first year you decide to do one as an artist. Now, the only thing we need to do is go back and add some darks in there. I'm perfectly okay with this being sort of, I don't know, maybe vintage looking. Let's go ahead and see what we can do about getting some darks in there, because that's gonna dry real quick. I'm trying to get some of this burnt sienna up. That's another thing. Like I said, definitely keep them wet as you work with them. That way you won't have a problem getting your washes together. Or anything of that nature. I'm trying, my friends, to make this look decent for us all. I'm just going along and adding that burnt sienna in the areas where it would be darker. More than likely, still going to end up adding darker to it. But for now, we're going to let these second layers work. I have brushes dropping everywhere, but that is okay. Now, I'm going to have to put some rope texture in that. And I'm going to do that with the actual darker brown tone, or it's actually going to be more of a gray that we go in with. And as you can see, as I paint, the thicker you have the paints, the more they build, which is to be expected of a budget grade paint, right? Now, what else do I want to do? I want to kind of lift out some of the red. So I have this little golden Teclon filbert that I'm going to get wet here, and we are going to see if we can't remove some of the paint to give it a sort of old vintagey feel, maybe. Like I said, this is something I wanted to try. Sort of a class I put to the side, and I figured maybe these paints would work good for this project because they would lift so easily. Excuse me. Which is something I discovered doing the swatching process. So I was like, okay, so they should work pretty well for this project, I hope. And I just kind of want them to have this sort of old feel, vintagey, like they've been around for a while. They've hung on a couple of trees, or I don't know. I'm gonna trust the process, friends. I have doubts, but I'm gonna keep going, keep lifting. I think I probably lifted too much there. But we will see when it's all said and done. Okay. I think that may have helped. I'm going to go ahead and start back to working on finishing up the ribbon. Now I'm going to go with the same green I've been using, but this time I'm going to add ultramarine blue to it. Maybe even a little midnight blue, which is probably this set's version of Prussian blue. Get a really nice dark rich green, and we are going to go in here and put in some shadow, and it should help bring a little definition to our ribbon. Okay, and we are going to do the same thing here on this side. And basically we are just putting in the shadow in the places where there are folds. I'm trying to give the actual jingle bells time to dry. And we're going to have plenty of shade under here. And add just a little water to that. It's a little thick. You don't want it thin. You want to keep it skim milkish. See, that way it'll flow off the brush as you flick. You're just flicking straight up from the bottom in this case. I'm gonna run a few of them together, crisp up my outline. Then I'm just going to thicken up the bottom here. It's been a while since I've done a ribbon. But considering the paints I'm using, I think I'm doing okay. I hope it's gonna come out okay. Let's do the other side here. And again, we're flicking inward. I hope this video isn't too long for you guys. I hope y'all like. I'm gonna eventually, now seeing how this camera set up and this mic system works, I'm going to eventually get into a flow, a rhythm of how I want the videos to work with this. But this was really just to test everything in all honesty and see how it would work out in this situation or in a live situation. I will be using this setup tomorrow because I'm actually recording this video pretty early, and I'll be using this setup tomorrow during my regular Monday live in order to try to see how it works in that environment. So I'm trying to talk to you guys about that and paint at the same time, which is why you guys normally get time lapse. I've really got to get in the habit of doing full-time demos pre-recorded anyway, because of course the ones that I do live are real time. But most of my pre-recorded videos normally have a time lapse in it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that time-lapse videos hold your attention more, or do videos of this nature, or are videos of this nature going to hold your attention more? And I'm just letting that paint run out and that texture drag across. I kind of like that. It looks vintage. Let's put a little depth in where the ribbon folds over. I'm going to go in for more green. I'm going to go in for blue. And yes, I'm going in without cleaning my brush. And I want to get some of this black I was working with earlier over here from where I was doing the first painting. Just want that nice and rich and dark. All right. And I am going to paint the inside here. And my paint is pretty thick. It's definitely a whole milk consistency. And then here will be completely dark as well. And I'm going to go ahead and use this color to etch out the definition of my ribbon since I'm at it. Just to put in a few more darks, show a few folds. Just a few strokes around the knot area. On both sides. And here where that lays over on that end of the ribbon, and I'm going to just pull that out just a little bit. And here at the bottom where it folds over, and I'm going to pull that out a little bit as well. And I'm going to actually use this color to enhance the color on the bottom altogether. Because honestly, this ribbon is folded over from the light on this point. So all of this would be just a bit darker than the rest of the ribbon. All right. That's not too bad, friends. Not too bad. Let's do something about the rope. I'm going to, again, taking that burnt umber color that I was using, I'm going to go over here and mix it into the same black that I make, or black makeup, because it's ultramarine blue and burnt sienna basically. And I'm going to be mixing more of that burnt umber into it, just to get it more brown leaning. All right, and then we are going to put the little striations in it that makes it rope. And I am just holding my brush at a bit of an angle and putting in hash mark lines, actually, just like I would be shading. And now I'm going to add definition to separate these ropes from each other. Flick that down a little bit, add a little bit more definition to where it meets the berries. And then again, the rope texture. I'm just going to flick it on like so, just basically making linear marks. And it's going to give it that rope feel. It'll be realistic-ish. Okay. I think that works. I do. And then a little over here, although that's pretty dark. All right. And I'll just put a little shadow there where those knots meet. And that, my friends, is the rope. Let's do some edging here. I need a darker cranberry color, so I'm going to grab some of this magenta we've been working with and mix a little of that green into it. It's going to desaturate it and bring it on down. And I'm going to use that to outline where you would be able to see inside our jingle bells, because we are going to be adding that color in, and I don't think it's dark enough, but we'll put the first layer in. We're going to definitely make something darker. I'm not adding too much water to the paints. I don't want there to be a huge color shift. definitely need to add a little bit more depth to that color. Want to take it almost black. So here's what I'm going to do. Got that green mixed in there. That's fine. I'm going to start with ultramarine blue. We're going to do burnt sienna, which should neutralize out. That green is steady mixing in there, which is perfectly fine. It's probably making mud, in all honesty, because regardless of what the package say, I'm pretty sure that I mean, there's no pigment information presented, and no matter how light fast you tell me something is, if you don't present the actual pigment information so that I can verify that just not prone to just taking your word for it, especially when it comes to a budget company. However, they are definitely fun paints that can get the job done, especially for something like what I'm doing now. So I am just going to continue to block in the center portions of my jingle bells here. Uh, this is actually super fun. I'm going to make more of these. I think all of the ones that are jingle bells are going to be individually hand painted cards. I was going to use this to just scan it in, which is a great way to use compositions from your sketchbook that's been painted with your budget paints, ones that you are not really sure about the light fastness of. You can still like reproduce um, whatever you paint with those, and voila, no longer worried about the light fastness, right? But if you're going to be entering it into some type of a competition, or if this was a piece of commission work I was doing for someone, I definitely would opt to use a different set of paints that I know are light fast. And I have pigment information, and I've verified the quality of them. All of that conversation is really hit or miss. And I honestly didn't like that. I like that. I didn't try to, I want to go around a perimeter there just for some division. I'll do the same here. I'm not going to outline it. I am just adding a little darkness to whatever area where they may have been, it may be touching something else. Like so. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. As a matter of fact, I think that's good. I think that's a really great place for you guys to go with a set like this in order to get something achievable that you sort of like. Now, if you want to, you can go back in here with like some color pencil. Do I have? I would probably go in with like a white color pencil. Let's see here. I have a color soft here. So I would probably use a white color pencil just to go in and kind of enhance the sort of is wore off or old vintage, the effect, just to clean up where some of that lifting might not have been perfect, or where it left a hard edge at. Just kind of clean it up with a white pencil. Prismacolor, Color Soft, Chromaflow, even like Prina, they're super soft in a lay down. The Master's Touch pencils are super soft in a lay down. There's quite a few of them out there that are really super soft and really lay down. And there, friends, I feel like that gives us a really neat vintagey feel to a painting. It was really quick. It was really easy. I'm looking for my black pens. Here we go. This one will work. I've actually started to sign my name on my paintings now. I'm not sure what's bringing that on, but we're here with it. What is this? No, this is 9. This is 9. I did 8. Well, I know what I meant. So, friends, there is a happy little paint along that I kept real time. Hopefully, this wasn't too long, and that you guys enjoyed it. But before I jump up and leave, I want to kind of take that white pencil and add a little soft highlight there and here, here, and I'm just scuffling in secondary highlights there. It's just going to make that ribbon stand out a little bit more. And you know what? I'm actually going to go in with some bleed proof white, just a very little bit, in order to enhance that just a little bit more, and then we are going to be done with it. So let me just grab a little bleed proof here. Okay, friends, watch this. Beautiful. We're just adding some major white highlights to that. Just like that, a few strokes. I feel like that's all it needs to make it stand out. And on that side, I'm following the direction of the color. It may be a little bright, so I'm gonna take my paper towel and blot. Try to knock it back just a little bit. And I don't know, few in a row. Just a few highlights. And on the bell maybe. No, I'll leave those alone. They're turned up. They have enough highlight. Maybe here along. Just like so. Not too much. Don't do too much of anything. You can't stop while you're here. Okay. So there, my friends. That I feel comfortable with. And I feel like that's a good representation of the type of things that you would do with the paints, between the two paintings. And that, friends, is our first run with that paint set. Quite an interesting experience it did turn out to be. I am going to be including that paint set in the massive review video set to come out later on in the month. So don't forget to hit your subscription button and notification bell so that you will know when we upload and when we go live. Jump in the comment section, friends. Let me know what you thought of today's video, what you think of this new sort of editing style, where we're trying to go. with the production of the content. I would love to start a conversation and get you guys feedback. Don't forget to sprinkle a little love. Give this video a thumbs up so we can get it in front of other wonderful viewers like you. And remember that sharing is caring, and it just may help out just as much. You know, check the video description for all of the relevant links. And remember, as I tell you always, friends, just keep creating.